Hey everyone, and welcome back. I am so thrilled you're joining me for today's explainer, because we are pivoting away from just the sheer physical strength of mountain sports and getting into something I think is honestly much more fascinating. Today we're diving deep into the rigorous, highly mathematical safety systems and the standard operating procedures that make scaling those massive vertical rock faces possible in the first place. We are looking at the true science of safe climbing.
So let me ask you this right out of the gate. Can rock climbing ever be 100% risk-free? It's a super common question. And sometimes novices approach the rock kind of thinking their gear acts as this magical invisible shield against gravity. But as we're going to see from the professional guidelines, that mindset, it's actually incredibly dangerous.
There's this perfect line from the ASRCAI top rope solo manual that hits the nail right on the head. It says, "The margin for error is narrower than in partner belayed climbing. Every element of system setup must be treated as a life-critical procedure." I mean, that really establishes the absolute stakes of what we're talking about today, right? Our core thesis here is that successful climbing isn't just about conquering a mountain, it's about executing a highly disciplined system of informed risk management.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for the explainer. We're going to start with informed risk management. Then we'll look at engineering the anchor, followed by pre-climb safety checks. After that, we'll cover ascending and belaying, mastering the descent, and we'll wrap up with the ethics and environment of climbing.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Informed Risk Management. The most crucial part of any climb actually begins long before anyone's hands even touch the rock. First things first, we have to completely abandon the idea of zero-risk elimination. Nature is wild and unpredictable. Rock surfaces change, the weather shifts in an instant, and, well, gravity never takes a day off. So zero risk is literally impossible. Instead, the professional standard is informed risk management. This means you need to understand exactly what can go wrong, take very deliberate, mathematically sound steps to reduce the probability of a failure, and always have a backup plan for emergencies. These strict procedures aren't just annoying red tape, they are the literal lifelines keeping climbers alive.
Moving right along to Section 2, Engineering the Anchor. This brings us to the absolute foundation of any climb. This is where physical engineering and geometry step in. If you take away just one technical concept from this whole explainer, please make it the Serena framework. It's this brilliant mnemonic that serves as the worldwide standard for evaluating anchor quality. Let's break it down. Every single point must be solid, meaning reliably strong on its own. It must be equalized, distributing the load evenly so no single point takes all the force. It absolutely needs to be redundant, so if one sling fails, a backup holds the entire load. It should be efficient, keeping complexity to a minimum because complexity breeds mistakes. It needs no extension, meaning if a point blows, the system won't snap out and violently shockload the rest of your gear. And finally, the angle between your sling legs at the master point must be 60 degrees or less.
And when you actually see this framework out in the wild, it's honestly a thing of beauty. You can physically see the redundancy with the multiple connection points, the equalization flawlessly distributing the climber's weight, and the clean, efficient knot work. It's way more than just clipping a carabiner to a bolt. It's about conducting a systematic pull test with your full body weight, just to ensure that all that Serena math actually holds up under real-world tension.
Okay, on to Section 3, Pre-Climb Safety Checks. So we've engineered a perfect anchor. Awesome. But the best gear in the world is absolutely useless if human error sneaks into the equation. The standard operating procedures outline this fascinating psychological trick that professional instructors use called the touch, say, confirm method. You don't just glance at a partner's gear. No way. You physically touch the harness buckle, you literally say the word buckle out loud, and you visually and physically confirm it's secure. It totally forces your brain out of autopilot mode. And this pairs perfectly with standard vocal commands. Before anyone moves an inch, the climber asks, "On belay?" The belayer confirms belay on, and the climber announces climbing. It's essentially an auditory handshake.
And to make sure absolutely nothing is missed, climbers use another great memory aid before they ever leave the ground: harness. H is for harness, checking those buckles and the belay loop. A is for anchor, inspected and redundant. R is for rope, flaked cleanly with a stopper knot tied at the end. M is for knots and devices, loaded correctly and pull tested. E is for equipment, all carabiners locked. The first S is for surroundings, making sure the base area is totally clear of falling rock hazards. And that final S is the safety final check. Helmets on, systems go. It is a systematic, step-by-step audit done every single time.
Now, beginners frequently make critical errors here. A huge one is relying way too much on arm strength, basically trying to do pull-ups all the way up the rock. You'll exhaust yourself in minutes. A pro follows the ultimate golden rule. Climb with your legs, balance with your feet, and just use your hands for support. Instructors heavily emphasize the straight arm technique, keeping your arms straight whenever possible and letting your actual skeleton support your weight rather than burning out your muscles. Keep your body nice and close to the rock, push upward with those massive leg muscles, and you'll save so much energy. Mentally, beginners also tend to load belay balises backward, which is exactly why instructors relentlessly drill the phrase, "arrow points to anchor."
Which brings us to Section 4, Ascending and Belaying Techniques.
All right, you've left the ground. So how do these systems actually protect you as you move higher? Well, think about the rope itself. That's not just a regular piece of cord. That is a dynamic rope engineered specifically to stretch and elongate under a heavy load. If a climber falls, the belay device bites down hard on the rope to arrest the fall, and that dynamic rope physically stretches to absorb the energy. This drastically reduces the peak force slamming into the climber's body and, crucially, into the anchor.
While ascending, you live by the 3-point contact rule. Always maintain 3 points of contact, 2 hands and 1 foot or 2 feet and 1 hand. It provides maximum stability. And to get up the wall, you'll use specific techniques, like smearing, where you press the sticky sole of your shoe directly against smooth rock when there are no obvious footholds, or edging, standing on tiny little rock features with the edge of your shoe. You might even use flagging, extending one leg straight out to counterbalance your body weight. Meanwhile, down on the ground, the belayer is using the PBUS rule: pull, break, under, slide. It's a rigorous, continuous hand movement ensuring they never ever let go of the brake strand. Managing that slack in the rope is literally just as important as finding your next foothold, because excess slack means a longer, scarier fall.
Next up, Section 5, Mastering the Descent.
As we mentioned, gravity never takes a break, and by the time you reach the top, fatigue is usually pretty high, which makes the descent an incredibly critical phase. When you transition from climbing to rappelling or abseiling, you are fully trusting your entire body weight to the system. The environment at the top of a cliff is a tightly controlled space by the leadership team to ensure absolutely nobody wanders too close to the edge unclipped.
A safe rappel follows a very strict linear procedure. First, you load the rappel device. Second, you clip it to your harness belay loop with a locking carabiner, and you physically confirm it's locked. Third, and this is an absolutely crucial step, you weight the system gradually to confirm it holds you before you unclip your personal safety tether. You never unclip your backup until you know the rappel device has got you. Finally, you descend smoothly, controlling the friction with your brake hand. Oh, and as the manuals always state, ensure there is a stopper knot tied at the bottom of the rope as an ultimate failsafe. You definitely don't want to rappel right off the end of your rope.
Finally, Section 6, Ethics and Environment.
As climbers, we have to remember we are just guests in these incredible natural spaces. That's exactly why local tourism boards and climbing communities strictly enforce the 7 principles of leave no trace. It starts with planning ahead and traveling on durable surfaces so we aren't destroying fragile ecosystems. We must dispose of waste properly. The golden rule here is pack it in, pack it out. We leave what we find, minimize campfire impacts, respect the wildlife by giving them plenty of space, and of course, we are considerate of others sharing the outdoors. Because at the end of the day, safety protects the climber, but ethics protect the climb itself for future generations.
So, bringing this all together, what is the main thing you should take away from this explainer? It's that the absolute best climbing technique isn't about how many pull-ups you can crank out. It is all about mental discipline, rigorous risk management, and total safety mastery. I really love the official ASCAI motto: build skills, conquer limits, adventure awaits. Because you really cannot safely conquer your limits until you have built those rock-solid foundational skills.
Which leaves us with this final thought. You understand the Serena framework, you know the harness checks inside and out, and you've mastered the informed risk management systems. The protocols are firmly in place. So, are you ready to safely conquer your limits? Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Keep learning, stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next explainer.